You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Yes. What is up, everyone? Paul Apostolakis, Salvatore Kuzmano, Brad Weisinger is not on the show today. He had some personal business to take care of. For everybody that is listening, that came on to listen to our show, thank you. We appreciate your support. For those that are new, you can go to Facebook.com/IRE Podcast to see the podcast live. You can go to YouTube. You can go to irepodcast.com or go anywhere that you want to consume your podcast, and we will be there. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to get notified when you have a new episode up for you. We are on episode 149. And Salvatore, happy Cinco de Mayo, bro.
Man, I didn't even know.
Yeah,
it's I didn't even think about it.
It is. I can't believe it's already May. The year is flying by. Today we've got a really great guest on the show. We've got Ali Berry from Quest Real Estate. He is one of my favorite broker owners. He's always doing some different stuff. So it'll be interesting to get his take on the market. Today we're going to talk about inflation, what kind of effect that has on the market. I also wanted to talk about Fannie and Freddie tightening their qualifications. It is getting a little bit harder to get approved through them. And also what the difference is between a good agent and a bad agent, especially in today's market. But without further ado, Ali Berry, man, come on the show. How are you?
I'm good, man. Always happy to be here.
Yeah, man. We always love having you. Ali, obviously you're over at Quest Real Estate. You guys are killing it right now. Super busy, right?
Thank you.
How many agents do you have now?
23 or 24.
23, 24. You're always Friday. That's interesting because you started hiring just a little while ago. Before you were a much smaller team. What caused you to kind of start hiring?
So part of it is forced because of the clientele that we have, like the referral sources that we have. We've always kind of been in a position where all of the agents are just overwhelmed with office generated business. So I use that as kind of like a precursor to when I know I need to bring on more agents.
Yep.
Some of that's grown. We've got some other referral partners that we started working with. We've never recruited. I've literally never gone out and recruited any agents in my entire career. I tried at one point. I hate recruiting. It's literally the bane of my existence, calling and begging somebody to give me the time of day to show them that I can double their income. Like it's just not my thing.
Right.
So we've grown, and all the agents have always been the ones to bring on. Everybody that works here was recruited by an agent that works here.
Yeah.
For me, like what better? They know our culture. They know our expectations. They know if this person's going to be a fit or not.
Yeah.
So we went from, in the last 2 years, I think probably like 13 or 14 to 23 or 24. So not massive growth, but again, like I'm really, really picky about who works here and do they fit and are they going to fit our culture and do right by our clients. So we don't see ourselves being 200-300 agents. That's just not
that's not your model. But you guys have done a really good job providing opportunity to the agents that you do have, right? I think that's what the biggest thing is. I think it's all about what's the opportunity and the value proposition from the broker owner to the agent, and our agents seeing success, and your agents are seeing success. So kudos to providing that opportunity for your people. I think that's a big deal. And I think organic growth is much more healthy than trying to just pick up any Tom, Dick, and Harry off the street, right?
Yeah, it's also hard too. Like I've had a transition recently where like I was very adamant about not hiring any new agents because as a broker owner / CEO / janitor / all of it, right? Like it's very difficult to take brand new agents, especially if they don't have sales experience, and try to turn them into what we would consider to be a good top agent, right? And have the capacity to work at our level, right? So I would always just hire people that had existing experience, but I almost find sometimes that's even harder because they're used to doing things one way.
Bad habits, bro. Yeah.
Getting them to buy into our process and our systems and our way of doing things and understand that it is going to be easier for them and better. It's almost easier to take a new agent and say, hey, here's all the systems, here's the processes, this is how we do things. They don't have to relearn. So you got to pick your battles, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're in that kind of position, Sal, where we're trying to hire good people in our space as loan officers. And, we're not big on just hiring bodies. You know what I mean? Right, Sal? I mean, we want talent as well that can get up and going. But with that talent, sometimes you do get old habits that are hard to break, right, Sal?
Yeah. I mean, I think, there's a fine line between hiring someone who's been doing this too long, if that makes sense, right? And then, hiring someone who, probably has some potential, but, at least like in our position, we probably don't have the time to teach them from the ground up, so there's a lot of different, and I think like as a business owner, sometimes it's good to be able to direct someone like, hey man, go here, cut your teeth, and then give me a call in a year or so. Right. Yeah. You actually like the business.
I did that for probably 3-4 years. Like everybody that would get referred to me that was a new agent, I literally would just tell them like, listen, we're not the right place. Go here, big box, get training. If you don't love it after 6 to 8 months, we're not going anywhere. Right. So, and I've had 3 or 4 of those people come back and start here, or they followed up and said, hey, like, I'm still doing well. And that's fine. Like for us, it's all about, like, I literally probably still need to hire 6 to 7 more agents because we're turning down business hand over fist with referrals. But that's because, again, like all of our agents are at very high capacities, right? They can work a lot of clientele. They work well, but everybody has their limits, right? They have their thresholds, and I won't cross those and sacrifice client experience.
Absolutely. That's a fine line. It's like, you want to become transactional because you can. And when you become transactional, the client experience suffers always. Would you agree with that, Allie?
Yeah. And honestly, man, for me, like I'm probably a little crazier with this stuff. Like to me, a 4.9 star review is a problem.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I know the other people in our industry in this area, there's a lot of them that like, it's all transactional, right? Like, we're this, we're killers, we're sales, blah, blah, we're do this. It's like, great, go ahead, that's fine. But like for longevity, like, and you want to build your name and you want to eventually not have to be calling people and just have business return business, referral business, you have to build a name like we have over the last 10 years where, the first thing people think about is client service.
Yeah.
First and foremost, right? Experience, you're a great agent, but also client service. This person's I still, to this day, I still have agents that will get reassigned to our clients that will get reassigned to us from referral partners. They're like, the agent never followed up with them. Like you were handed this client that was pre-approved, ready to go, wants to buy a house, and you just don't follow up with them. What's
not acceptable?
Be the reason for that ever?
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're in real estate in general can be very transactional, but companies like us, Ali, we're very similar companies, I think, just in culture and all that. Going for service and reputation is all we have at the very beginning. And if you mess up your reputation just to take a deal or try to be transactional or just try to take every deal, we turn down, Sal, more deals than sometimes we take as well because we don't want to have a bad experience, right? The bad experience is not worth it.
Yeah. You got to think real long term, right? Like, yeah, you may have to turn some business down now, but that will get you to a point where when you grow and you get the extra support and you get the extra LOs and you get yourself in that position, you'll know that business will still be there and you'll still be, you'll still increase your business. So
yeah, we always say we want to be around for 30 years, not 3. You know what I'm saying? And to be around for 30, you need different, you need a base of good business.
And I think a lot of that, comes down to the mindset or the teachings that, the broker owners or the senior people can pass down to their younger or newer people, right? If you think about like the process of the transaction of a real estate deal, right? Like how many agents do you think you have, Ali, going out showing people who aren't pre-approved?
Who are not pre-approved, right?
Prior to 4 months ago, probably 0.
Right.
We got a couple different things now. Like we're a Zillow Flex partner now, so we get we don't pay for zip codes. We get zip codes, and then it works like a referral network. Some of those we have to because we do sidewalk appointments. But I think that's also too is like I have an agent base where they know that they can make that determination on the call of, am I going to risk my time with a sidewalk here to uncover that? A lot of times we do a really good job though of following up on a second call. Hey, have you gone through the pre-approval process? No, great, let's get you connected with somebody. It's more about that explanation of don't put yourself in a position of going and loving a home and then not being pre-approved.
Right.
And being behind the ball and then scrambling to try to get a pre-approval when highest and best is due at 8 p.m. Like,
I see it all the time, man. I showed them, 10 places over the past week. Why are we talking now? Like, and then,
maybe one house, but like,
I deliver the news like, hey man, this guy doesn't qualify,
Right.
and it's like, how do we figure this out? Can we get a co-signer? And
that's probably a lot of agents that aren't nearly as busy, right? Because I mean, listen, at the end of the day, the average agent closes 5 to 7 transactions a year, right? The majority of our agents close that monthly. So it's a different mind shift in like an abundance or scarcity, right? Where for them, they have that additional time. It's not that big of a deal for them to go show houses. Honestly, it's probably practice for them for the most part. So they're not as worried about like, let me go show these homes.
They want their time wasted. They'll take anything at that
But from
point.
a client experience standpoint,
Yeah, the client experience in that situation.
I think that's where it's like, wow, these guys go out, they fall in love with the home, and no one ever said like, hey man, some people might go show you, but like if you want to have a good experience, you need to get your shit in order. Like today.
They're scared to foreshadow and set the right expectations. They're scared to have that conversation because they don't want to hear the client tell them no. Because you know what it is. You know how it goes. Like for us at least, hey, have you been pre-approved yet? Oh no, I'm just starting out. I'm not doing that.
Right.
Yeah, you went on Zillow or you went here and you looked at properties, you inquired, you want to go see it. You're not just starting out. You just don't want to take the plunge to go get pre-approved because you're worried about 2 or 3 points on your credit score.
Right.
Or you're worried somebody's going to tell you you're not approved.
Right. That transitions.
Then it's
that transitions.
What do I qualify for if I tell you my credit score per, what my credit card says online? I'm like, dude, we can do this, or you can go somewhere else. Like, no offense, I get where you're coming from, but like, you want to buy a house. I
guess a question for you guys, and listen, no, right way or wrong on this, because I did mortgages for a very long time, and I used to fight people constantly with that, right? Like I would spend so much energy with being like, well, listen, no, we can't tell you anything until we have your credit pulled, right? Because that's how we were taught. Whatever, it is what it is. But do you guys still like argue that conversation, or do you just now be like, okay, great, like this is where you're going to be? You told me you got a 740 credit score and you make 132,000 a year, you got 30,000 in the bank. Okay, great, this is where you're going to be.
It's not as staunch as it used to be, Ali, to be honest. I know we grew up in the same world where
it depends on the client.
It also depends on the client. Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of people who've already bought homes and been through the experience, and they're like, listen, dude, I know I'm good. Like, what's your rate or whatever it is, right? And I'll just get that out of the way real quick. Like, okay, if you say you're this, it's probably this. And, if you want to move forward, you can fill out our application or whatever, right? But like, I think for a first-time buyer who's like afraid to get their credit pulled, like education's everything, right? And a loan is a 4-piece puzzle. And this is literally the same exact conversation I have with every single one of my clients. What's your credit look like? What's your income look like? What's your down payment look like? And what do you want to buy? And after hearing, a 5-minute conversation or so going through that, everything sounds good. Well, I don't know if I'm ready yet. That's fine. When you are ready to get pre-approved so you can actually buy a house, let me know.
You
need to do it. Whether it's me or someone else, no one's going to take you as a buyer seriously until you basically have the credentials to buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody to understand that, right?
So the proper pre-approval in today's market and who you get your pre-approval from is so important because they got to perform. You know what I mean? If you're listing a house and you've got potentially a B of A or a credit union that doesn't do a very good job, that's going to take 60, 90 days to close a loan, you're not going to take that offer over, someone like us that are more nimble. You know what I mean? So
right now, man, like I'll just give you a quick example. So I don't do a lot of like buying and selling myself anymore. Only past clients that I can't then give to one of my agents because they're adamant about working with me.
Right.
And it's really just listings, right? So I got a listing in Berkeley, really great past clients of mine. Set the right expectations. I told them, listen, plan on being out of the house Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like you are not even coming home. Take your dogs, go to your sisters, whatever you need to do. And they did it Friday and Saturday. We had 62 showings, I think it was.
Jeez, dude.
We canceled showings on Sunday and did an open house because I was like, listen, like they wanted to get back in their house. They're like, we already have offers. Like, we don't need to run this out through 8 p.m. on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Did a quick open house on Sunday, made everybody go through the open house. We ended up getting like 8 offers. All of them were above asking, solid offers, great appraisal waivers, no cash, which is fine. I don't really care. Listen, if you have appraisal waiver in there at a certain amount, like to me, I really don't care. These people need to be in the house till mid-July anyways. What do I care if you can close in 2 weeks, right?
So a lot of people don't think like that, but that makes sense.
They're moving out of state. They're not buying another house here. So it's that situation where like cash didn't really matter as much. But the idea was like, I had 8 offers. Not one of those offers was a loan officer CC'd on the email. Nowhere to be found. No loan officer reached out to me whatsoever. So it comes down to like when you have 5 offers that are all at the same price point, which is above asking price, it comes down to like, what are your appraisal waivers? But then also too, like, where is your pre-approval from? Right. And do I have confidence that like this is actually going to get done? So I just don't get the idea in this market when it's competitive as it is, that you would ever send an offer over, not call the agent to build some confidence, the listing agent, and then also not CC the loan officer and ask your loan officer partner to be like, hey, just do me a favor and reach out, email or call, take 2 minutes, build some confidence. Like,
it's these little micro moments in today's market that matter. So, you know, that transitions really well into like what I want to talk about is, you know, go ahead, Sal.
Just to that point too, like a loan officer, let's say you pre-approved someone that previous week and is off, not in the loop of anything. Yeah, I sent out, you know, a ton of pre-approval letters. Half of them probably didn't even verify docs. But the big thing right now is people doing these appraisal waivers, right? And a lot of agents probably can't even explain to the buyer what the implications are. Yeah, if so, you know, you're basically guaranteeing the difference. And sometimes buyers don't understand that, like, that's above and beyond in straight cash. You still got to bring your 5% down plus your closing costs below that. And people are like, well, I mean, literally all the time I get pre-approval or purchase agreements from the weekend where people guaranteed the appraisal, the full deal, and that thing's going to appraise $20,000-$30,000 light, and my buyer's got enough to bring just the minimum down. I'm like, how did you get into this situation? I mean,
they're not explaining to their clients like all the outcomes, right? So like when we do those kind of things, and this is kind of how I talk through my agents, is if you're going to do an appraisal waiver, great. Like it's a competitive market, right? If you have the ability to do that and you understand it, great, go ahead, right? But the reality is that they need to understand each option that's there. Like if the appraisal comes in at purchase price, it didn't matter, right? It's like you didn't do an appraisal waiver. If it comes in here, this is what you're going to bring. If it comes in here, then we have to renegotiate. But if the seller comes down, you already agreed to still bring that difference, right? So it's hard because for a company like us that is very, very, very client focused, right? It's that fine line of when do we tell our clients, and this is individually, right? Client to client, like when do we tell our clients, like, you're not really in a position where you should be doing this, right? First time home buyer that has the money, but really should you be buying this house and spending an extra 30 grand on a $170,000 house in an area where the property values have gone up 19% year over year? Yes, the market is probably still going to increase to a certain extent because the lack of inventory is going to dictate all of this. But the reality is, like, what if you have to move next year?
You're underwater, bro. You're underwater.
That's not people. I think what people don't understand is, like, if I bring that extra money, they're not conceptualizing that, like, I am 30 grand underwater right now.
Immediately. Yeah.
And immediately. If I were to sell tomorrow, I'm not only 30 grand underwater, I also have transfer tax, title insurance, commission, right?
Closing costs, all that. Yeah.
Like, it's that idea of informing the client of really what they're getting into.
Yeah. Nancy Robinson actually has a comment. John Adams is getting pre-approvals with appraisal waivers. The buyers have gone through full underwrite, and the house has to be in range that's acceptable for the city the house is on. How is that possible?
She's thinking about a different appraisal waiver. She's thinking about Fannie giving out
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
You don't have to do an appraisal.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So when you buy a house, a couple of things can happen. Fannie Mae, if you run it through, they might say you don't need an appraisal. We're good with the value, right? That is based on the property specific, but an appraisal waiver, obviously when you're putting in an offer, if the house is 100,000, you offer 120, but the house only appraises for 110, you're obligated to go to that 120, right? So that's a difference. So Nancy, I think what you're talking about is more Fannie or Freddie giving an appraisal waiver, meaning that that specific house does not need a appraisal.
Yeah, I mean, likely what they did is, their loan officer plugged in that actual address, right?
Right.
And was able to get it because it's really address specific, not even
it's house to house.
It's not zip code or city specific. It's house to house. It's last sold. I mean, Fannie has a ton of data on all the homes, and essentially,
they have more data than we could ever want. That's why. So
right.
I actually don't look at those because a lot of people look at those like, oh, that's a bad scenario. I don't. Again, this is probably mortgage experience and having a better understanding with it. But you got to understand, they have far, far, far more data than I can pull on the MLS because they also have refinance pulled in there. All appraisals that were ever done with a refinance,
their data set is huge.
Right?
Their data set is huge.
So when you're looking at that, the concept of you really think Fannie Mae would go through and say, hey, we don't need an appraisal because we're confident in this if it wasn't a situation where you can probably be confident that you're buying a house that's not drastically overpriced. Now, again, you're not getting those unless you're putting 20% down, right?
No, you need a good down payment to get those.
But I've seen far more of those. And the reality is, if you want to be smart as an agent, I tell my agents this, you're putting an offer in a multiple offer scenarios. You have a client that's putting 20% down. Call the banker right now, have them put that address in and see if they get an appraisal waiver. What better option than to put your offer in and be like, hey, my lender already ran this through with the property. We're not going to have to do an appraisal.
Yeah. Right. It's all these little micro, like these little inches that we can gain all the way across, which is, again, transitioning to one of my topics I want to talk about today is what sets a good agent apart from a bad agent, especially in a market like this that is so competitive that you're seeing 40, 50, 60 people run through a house. You got 10, 15, 20 offers on a house. How does a real estate agent perform at a higher level in today's market? But you've brought up some little things like having a good loan officer that calls the listing agent when there's an offer in, having trying to get appraisal waivers when you have a property in line. These little micro moments all add up. But from a real estate agent standpoint, Ali, how can a real estate agent in today's market get some leverage? You know what I mean? Like what and then what about the bad agents? What are they doing to lose deals? You know what I'm saying?
So I would say right now, the number one thing that's going to separate, I don't even want to say good or bad, right? The agents that are going to see success compared to the ones that are not.
Sure.
Right?
That's a better way to put it. Yeah.
The idea right now is you have to outwork the rest of them. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple, you have to put the work in. It is daunting, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We have meetings every other week with my agents. And again, these are very high volume agents, but they still get in ruts where it's, we're putting in 10, 13, 15 offers a week and maybe getting 2 or 3 of them. It's a numbers game, right? You don't really have control over, especially for a situation like us where we're handing our agents business constantly. They don't have as much control over, am I working with somebody that can do $40,000 appraisal waiver, or am I working with somebody that's FHA or things like that, right?
Yeah, some of them are limping in.
Just outwork everybody, put the work in, show the houses, right? Be available at a drop of a dime. You're going to sacrifice some home time. You're going to sacrifice some vacation. You're going to sacrifice some golf time, whatever it may be. Like, you got to put the work in. And we do this stuff on a bi-weekly basis. We'll look at those numbers. We'll look at how many, I can see exactly how many showings every single one of my agents schedule through showing time. We look at how does this correlate, right? Okay, great. You had 3 accepted offers this month, but you showed this many houses. There's a reason that this agent had 8 accepted offers this month, and it's because they showed 4 times the amount of houses you did, right? It's not really rocket science when it comes to that. I think the ones that are not seeing the success are probably the ones that shouldn't be in the industry. They probably can't weather working hard enough to do what's right for their clients in a market like this. And we're going to see a lot of agents leave the industry. It's tough though, because we went from like this position of rates are really low. Last year was probably the best anybody's ever seen in real estate from a financial standpoint, like what agents were making. So everybody got excited, like, I'm going to be in real estate. I'm going to do real estate because the outside it looks great. And then now you're in a position of, like, if I was going to be a real estate agent and I was going to make that decision right now, it'd be tough if somebody gave me the truth, because wholeheartedly,
it's hard. It's competitive.
Broker, they're going to be like, listen, you're going to work harder right now in real estate than you've ever worked in your life.
Yeah. You'll make a lot of money, but you're going to have to work really hard because it's competitive. It's not, you're not working against yourself anymore. You're working against every other top agent, and the top agents are really working hard. You know what I mean? And you've got to outwork your competition. There's really no formula other than that. And it sounds like it's pretty simple, but people just don't really gravitate towards that sometimes.
I think we may have been spoiled for a little while too, though. Like, I don't really, and I may be a little hard on my agents, but like, I always have the mindset of like, nobody cares, work harder, right? Like, we can, it's okay to like decompress and get people's feedback and kind of vent every once in a while. But the reality is like, when you really break things down and look at them, and this is how I am in life in general, like, things could always be worse, right? Yes, we're working harder, and yes, we're showing more homes, and yes, we're seeing less success from a conversion standpoint of number of homes shown to accepted offers to closings, whatever. Like, okay, if I took you tomorrow and said, hey, you have to go be a garbage man today, or you have to go do roofing or construction where you're working, physically for 12 to 14 hours a day, you wouldn't do that. So like, no. Really, are you really working that much, right? Like, for the average agent, and again, like, this is our office where everybody is extremely high volume. You're probably physically working 4 hours, maybe 6 hours a day.
It's mental, bro.
Yeah. So it's just the ones that are going to see the success are the ones that are outworking physically and mentally, but then also organized, man. If you're not organized right now, good luck. Like, remembering to do all of those incremental things when you're putting offers in, right? Yeah. And that's why I think the right setup matters. We have processes for everything.
Yeah.
We have offer email templates. We have offer checklists. Don't forget to talk to your client about doing an escalation clause. Don't forget to do this, right? When you're an agent and you're being pulled in 90,000 different directions and you're working with 30 clients at a time, you can't remember all this stuff, man. It's not possible.
You better use your calendar and use reminders, dude. You know what I mean? One thing that's happening right now that I wanted to talk about is we're seeing inflation, dude. For the first time, I think, in our lives, we're seeing cost of goods increase quite a bit, and inflation, it doesn't do well with interest rates, right? So I do believe that with this inflation right now, we are going to see pressure for rates to go up. There's no way. If we see actual inflation numbers going up, and which we are, dude. I mean, lumber costs are up. Everything's up. Used cars, houses, you name it. Everything is more expensive right now. Yeah. Everything. And but people are spending the money because they have it, because we've infused the country with so much capital.
But the news and the reports will tell you that they're not. That's
they're not. There is no inflation, but on the streets, there's inflation.
They're saying that, okay, stimulus, all this money, nobody's, the economy's not doing well. Nobody's injecting it into the economy. They're putting it into savings. And I'm over here like, how's that possible? I go to Somerset on the rich side. There's a line down the block.
Yeah.
To get into Louis Vuitton or whatever you want.
Yeah, go into Gucci, bro. Or
there's a line down the block. So how is that possible? I go to every store. Everything is sold out. Costco. Go to Costco right now. Go to Costco.com. Try finding a patio set.
You can't.
I challenge you. There's literally not one that is
furniture shortages.
So how is that possible that everything is out of stock? There's lines I understand the lines are probably somewhat COVID because you have limitations of who can get there.
Whatever.
These people are out spending money, man. I don't care what is said. The economy is not doing bad. The inflation concept when it comes to goods, like, absolutely. I think some of that too is people understanding that they have to make up some from the time they were down, especially restaurants. I get breakfast at a restaurant over here like a couple times a week, right down the street.
Yeah.
I paid like $13 for an omelet, man. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And my wife was like, isn't there a Coney Island right next door that probably has like $4 omelets? And, yes, it's not nearly as good, but the reality is I don't mind spending a little more to help the businesses out.
I don't disagree with that. But
I can't continue for like the next 3 years though, because I'll go broke eating omelets.
But no, I'm going broke on DoorDash, dude. I mean, think about how expensive DoorDash has gotten. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like double the price.
It's double the price. Yeah.
It's a new convenience.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
People love it.
People pay $60, $70, $80 to get an Uber to go to the airport instead of just asking one of their friends to take them.
You know,
I mean, it's
right.
like whatever,
People are spending, bro.
And a lot of people just save $200, $300, $400 a month on their mortgages, things of that sort.
Even more than that, you got people, man, that are okay. So how about this? The we're hiring signs, literally everywhere I go.
Everywhere.
And I understand, again, part of that is reopening, right? They had to lay people off, especially restaurants, right? They had to furlough people, whatever it may be in certain industries. But when I see this many now hiring signs, and people don't want to go back to work.
Some of them don't. No, I agree. Unemployment numbers are going to come out though, and these benefits are going to run out, and people will go back to work. And I'm telling you, inflation is going to be an issue. And if inflation keeps going the way that it is, we're going to have higher rates, and we might see some bleeding in the bond market, which is going to be interesting. But look, we're still the strongest economy in the country. People are going to invest in our bonds right now. But if we start having inflation, then that money in those bonds with low yields as low as they are, it's not going to be as attractive because that dollar is worth less, right? That dollar isn't worth $1 anymore. It's worth 80 cents or 90 cents on that dollar. Well, they just lost because of the rate of inflation. So anyways, long story short, I think rates are they're not going to go high, but you're going to see an uptick. Instead of seeing a 2 in front of your rate, you're probably going to see a 3. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's the other concept though, man, is what is that? Who cares?
Who cares? It's a 3 instead of a 2. You know what I mean? It's still very, very low.
You only care at the moment when you're getting it.
And you care though. Think about this conceptually, right? You care because you see it every single day. For somebody entering the market, a first-time home buyer, things like that, they may have seen that rates were on sub 3, but if they weren't paying attention, they weren't in the market to buy a house, they weren't paying attention to any of this, they're none the wiser. They come in, okay, great, where are rates? 3.5%. And for a fact, they'll ask that, right? Where are rates? They don't really care about that. They care about because payment.
Bro, when people close on their mortgage, they fight you on that rate for a month, right? And then all of a sudden you ask them what their rate is next time they refinance. They don't know what the fuck their rate is.
And they don't want to refinance to only save $67. But you want to argue about 1/8% when we close.
Right. I'm going to do a free refinance for you. We're going to save you $70. Nah.
It's not worth it for me. Right? That was my favorite stuff, man. In the moment, they will go shop 4 lenders.
Right.
To save 1/8%, which is $23.
Are you talking about engineers?
No,
spreadsheets?
Go through all those.
You're not baiting me into that one.
But it's funny the stress people put themselves through. And I think it's okay to go get a litmus test, right? All right, let's check a couple, rates or whatever. And sure. But at a point, man, get off the pot.
Paralysis, man. I used to say it all the time. I used to get these clients that would literally drive themselves crazy, right? Spreadsheets. And
meanwhile, rates went up 1/8 overnight, and they lost 1/8, but they just shopped everybody over the last week. And they're like, oh, then they call back that lender that they had it. Oh, they went up.
Yeah.
So it's just work with, the biggest thing for me is work with someone that's reputable, dude.
Yeah.
That has a good reputation, that does a good job, that people know of, that people get referred to. Because that's the company that you want to work with, especially in a complicated transaction like a purchase.
Especially in this market, man. What's more important than $20 a month or 1/8%? Making
winning
sure
that
you get it done on time, so you don't breach the contract and possibly lose your $10,000 earnest money deposit.
Correct. You know what's weird right now that's happening too, Ali? And Sal, you are probably seeing this more than anything, right? Oh wait, we've got a comment. Let's go to this. Let's go to Inside Out Inspection. What did they say? Do you think there will come a time where lenders will require inspections to make sure they are protecting their investment? No, that's what the appraisal's for.
Yeah.
The appraisal, the inspection that has never been part of it.
A lot of this stuff right now, man, is all desktop. And then if we need to do a full, we do a full. We get a lot of that from different lenders and stuff. And for them, it's more about the risk reward, right?
Let's go back though. Yes, to a degree there is with government loans, right? I mean, there are certain things that are required already from HUD, and who knows, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac could adapt some of those standards. I don't think a full-blown home inspection, right?
No.
But
they don't care if the GFI works. They don't care if the faucet's loose or things like that. It would only be safety concerns like FHA.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them potentially issuing some type of addendum to the appraisal, right? But probably not.
Not. They're actually trying to get away from more appraisals and all that. That's why they're going more desktop and all that. They're trying to remove that as an obstacle. So
I always
we
thought
talked about this last time I was on. Remember, we were talking about because it was like COVID time, or we're still in COVID time, but the initial COVID time when we were talking about like, will appraisals go away, right? And we've kind of seen that transition where still they're doing a lot of desktops and seeing if they work, and if they don't work, then we go do a full. And
just so the audience understands, a desktop appraisal is an appraisal waiver issued by Fannie or Freddie or these GSEs. And speaking of which, I do want to get into this because I know, Sal, you're noticing that, and it's getting harder and harder because basically the way that our system works is it's like a credit card, right? We put in all the information from the application, we push a button, we send it through Fannie or Freddie, and they come back and they say approved, eligible, we don't need an appraisal, or you're not approved and we need whatever it may be, right? And now we're seeing a tightening, like Ali, it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Yeah, like we're DTI over. Yeah. Oh shit. Over anything a certain level isn't working.
Anything over 43 DTI come June.
I thought they just expanded the DTI not too long ago.
But Fannie and Freddie have constricted their own internals.
Anything over 43 DTI needs strong compensating factors.
Listen, man, for you guys, like that obviously means a few less people approved, but let's be realistic. Like, and again, this is going back to like when I did mortgages, the idea that somebody can get approved to 51% DTI for just their mortgage payment.
It's not healthy.
And then not taking into account, like obviously that's taking into account any other kind of liabilities on the credit report, but you and I both know like that doesn't even take into account near the picture of what people, especially in today's market or today's economy, today's civilization, right? Like what people spend money on when you're buying $7 lattes every morning.
Yeah,
that probably should get restricted more.
Yeah, but you know what? The broader thing is, and I'm seeing it's what does it mean? Like, why are they doing it? Right? I get that it is good, but it tells me that Fannie and Freddie have some type of fear that they want their portfolio to be a lot tighter. They want higher performing portfolio, right?
I'm sure they've probably seen the year over year, increased values, right?
True.
And to a degree are probably thinking, well, we're lending out money to this guy at 3% who had 3.002% to bring to the table, financed all into his loan. If he sells it, like you said, he's 6% plus transfer taxes, owner's title, a couple other fees, underwater. And if there's just a little bit of a market shift, what happens to that guy? He had
trying to combat default rates. But you got to remember too, a lot of this stuff when you're talking about Fannie, Freddie, like a lot of this stuff is just like a corporate entity, right? Where it's not so much like common sense. It's all based off of numbers and balance sheets. So if they start seeing something tick, they immediately have to take action on that and adjust.
Here's what I tell people essentially, like, because we live in a country where every single person, no matter if you're 100 years old, right, 18, just, started your first job, you have the ability to buy a home, and you have multiple entities that will give you that money, right? So they have to make and blanket the rules. There are no exceptions. It's pretty black and white, unless someone else is willing to portfolio that. So unfortunately, the rules, there's always someone hurt by them, right?
Yeah.
There's always someone who can't buy the of them, and there's a lot of people who can. I mean, the fact that someone with a 600 credit score who had a bankruptcy or foreclosure 2.5 years ago has just enough money to come in and purchase another $300,000 home is crazy. But
that person is fiscally irresponsible, right?
Yeah, like, they're able to do it. You got a guy with an 800 credit score. Yeah, he wrote a little down on his taxes. He's got the money 2 times over in the bank to buy the home. Can't do it. And that's just some of the unfortunate things I think about, the way that things work right now. But it is what it is. So, as loan officers, like you said, I mean, okay, some people aren't going to be able to buy homes, or they'll buy homes for less that they can afford per Fannie's guidelines, right?
Yeah. Listen, and I don't think it's a bad thing, man. Like, strengthening those requirements. You got people for the last probably 5 to 7 years that have been pushing themselves to the brink, right? House poor. Oh, great. I'm a doctor and I make $400,000 a year, so I should go buy a $1.2 million house. I see it all the time. It's like, just because you can afford that because of what you make a month doesn't mean that is what you should afford, right? Like,
yeah,
I've always been kind of the mindset, like, and I know this is not right for first-time home buyers, but if you can't afford to buy something cash, you probably shouldn't buy it. A vehicle, any kind of toy. Now, house is a different story, right? But anything other than that, like if you don't have the funds to buy that cash,
to pay it off, right?
You still go finance it because money is cheap and it's a smart investment. But like, don't put yourself in a position where
every car company would go out of business. I mean, that's the real. I mean, look at every. I mean, as you know, well, it's kind of alarming to a degree, right? But I mean, everything's way more expensive than it was before, to a degree, right? Even before COVID, you know. I mean, look at the price of a pickup truck, man. I mean, it's nuts. You know,
people are still buying it.
And
an SUV, 75, 80 G's for a good SUV.
Yeah, I mean, continue though. You've seen that. Forget COVID for a minute. You've seen that, right? Like we're old enough now to see like what things cost and incrementally. But people drive that. People want nicer. They want more expensive. They want more bells and whistles, right? In America, at least, like that's what we do. Is we need a 7,000.
Well, I think everyone looks at themselves as a DTI to a degree, and they don't really think about the reserves.
Yeah, like
people are going to get smoked. You know, it's
Nancy had a comment she just put on there.
Nancy had a good comment. Put it back up there. Let's see. Fannie and Freddie are acting like we're in 2005 again. Buyers are acting like it's 1999. And with all the Gen X agents, they have no idea what 2008 to 2007 really was. So
yes and no. I don't see Fannie and Freddie acting like 2005.
I think Fannie and Freddie are really.
They were getting kind of like that. I mean,
no, it was the opposite.
1% down for a home. I mean, to a degree. I mean, there was a lot of like programs out there where. I mean, yeah. I mean, dude, look at some of these. Like,
what's the most aggressive program you have right now?
3% down. That's it.
Or like some lenders have 0 down, right?
We don't.
Okay, great. That is nowhere near giving negam loans.
No income, no asset.
Well, yeah.
Stated
there
income
are
loan.
some of those loans out there, but they're not Fannie and Freddie.
They're not Fannie or Freddie, right? Remember EA3, EA2, EA1, right? Expanded
we were
approval.
giving out mortgages. Right. And we didn't know any better. We were kids, right? Listen, the system said it was approved. You want to buy a house? You want to okay, great. You're buying a second home for $600,000. I got you approved. It's a little higher rate, but I got you approved on a NINA, no income, no assets.
Yeah, I have to disagree with Nancy on this one. I think that what Fannie and Freddie are doing is because of 2007 and 2008, because they want to tighten prior. They want to be tighter before anything happens, as opposed to the opposite, where they opened everything up just to make a lot of money, and then they got
some of their reports are showing that numbers are ticking up, so they're being proactive and saying, okay, let's fill this in before we get back to that. And
correct.
We're nowhere near dealing
the
with
looseness that we grew up with. Not even near it. I agree with
unbelievable, right? Tell them, hey, you know, we can put your balance will go up every month because you're not paying the full interest portion, but
who cares? You're getting
values are always going to go up.
Yeah,
and they need Fannie and Freddie need like a brother Fredo who's gonna like look at like these guys and be like, all right, dude, we've looked at this with a little closer microscope. Like, you're good for the money. You've never had a default and you got a ton of money. You know, like
yeah.
We need
a lot of the agents that are in the industry now, they probably don't, if they weren't in it long enough, or even if they were, they didn't have a good enough understanding of mortgages. Like they don't know what was available at those times. They don't understand we used to have a stack, man. Right. So when I look at mortgages now and like what is available from a product standpoint, it's very conservative.
Very conservative. Comparatively speaking, our product selection is if you want to do some of these fringy loans, they're very hard to find and they're hard to get done. So
we're running out of too. Imagine explaining to all your LOs that stack of product.
Yeah. No kidding. All right. So we got to get to 3 questions because we're running out of time. Yeah. All right. So this is the portion of the show. If you haven't listened to the show, thank you, Nancy. You've been amazing today. If you haven't listened to the show, this is where we ask 3 random questions to our guests. Sal, do you have one that you want to ask? If not, I can get into one of the ones I have.
What do you? I mean, I'm sure you get this is probably the most asked question to you, right? But like, what do you think you see in 2022, 2023? Like, what do you see values doing?
So I think we'll just kind of go through it. This year, I see it being the same, right? There's the lack of inventory. People are going to jump on the bandwagon. Sellers are going to jump on, they're going to sell, and that's fine. But a lot of them also, they understand that it's not just, I'm going to sell and make a bunch of money. I'm going to be in the same position that the buyers are in that are trying to purchase my house. It's going to be difficult. Do I really want to get into that? A lot of people have done a lot of upgrades to their houses over COVID. So now they've made it more of what they want. They don't want to sell. I don't see this inventory problem getting fixed in this year. I don't see it getting fixed. I mean, listen, this is not so much of buyers and sellers wanting to buy or sell. This is we haven't been building homes like we should have been for the last
5 years, 10 years,
10 years almost, really, since like 2008. When you
We're
look at
severely underbuilt right now.
When you look at the number of new construction homes that were built per year or even per decade, it falls off the map in 2008. Yep. And that's been a problem that's been increasing and increasing and increasing. Now you throw low interest rates, new buyers coming into the market because rates are low, and then COVID, that's a perfect storm where like inventory is just an issue. So the answer to that, I see it being very constricted still for 2022, 2022, 2023. Like there's not going to, even if the government comes out and says, okay, you can start foreclosing on people, right? It's not going to fix it.
No,
it's not going to be enough there
because there's so much equity in the house. People just sell it if they can't fund it, right?
Think about this. You put a house on the market, you have 80 showings, 30 offers, right?
Yeah.
That means 79 of those people are looking for homes. They didn't get a home. One person.
Here's the difference also. People are not going to default on an asset that has equity. The reason that we saw 2008 happen is because we had such a reduction in values of homes, and people were walking away from their houses because it was a toxic asset. They didn't
underwater.
They're underwater now,
and you got money in the bank.
Yeah.
You bought GameStop and made 40 grand.
Who the fuck? Okay. Anyways, I hate you for that.
Dogecoin now. It's all Dogecoin.
I hate all this. Okay. Next question. If you name one conspiracy theory that you think about the most.
The moon.
The moon. Did we land on the moon?
It keeps me up at night, man, because I love Elon Musk and I feel like he knows and he would tell us. But when I literally watched a video one time of a guy that supposedly he works for NASA, and he said that somebody asked him, why haven't we been back? And he said, well, we used to have the technology to get through the Kepler belt, like with the radiation, but we lost that technology.
How do we lose technology? No.
What does that even mean, right? So for me, like it's hard for me to sleep at night, like
did we do it?
Those things.
Yeah, is that really a flag? There's a lot of reasons why. It does look weird.
Maybe it was all made of asbestos or something.
Yeah,
and, it was like harmful to the astronauts. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
One of my favorite movies is Interstellar, and there's a line in there where he says like he was born 50 years too early or 50 years too late. I really feel like that's me, because 50 years ago, like I wouldn't have even cared because nobody would have known, and I have anxiety that I'm not going to see the cool stuff that like my grandkids are going to see.
Right. Yeah. But think about the things that we've seen that our parents never saw. Right.
Yeah.
We have a comment from Inside Out Inspections. Let's see what that is, and then we'll get to the last question. Is there a highly coveted area in Metro Detroit right now, or are there buyers becoming more open to areas as long as they can find what they need in a property? I think you're seeing properties like Oak Park, and even I'm in Hazel Park now. You're seeing the spillover of like these like the Woodward corridor. You're seeing spillover, right?
It's not the areas that you would have. So when this all came down, like before, right? Where were the hot pockets? Royal Oak, right?
Birmingham, Novi, Northville.
We have listings in Southfield, man, that have the most traffic I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
120 showings, 52 offers, right? In Southfield for a house that needs to be renovated. It's really, really kind of mind-boggling, the pockets that we see this mad traffic in. I mean, everywhere's crazy, but there's these pockets of areas where you just wouldn't really think were the most desirable previously that are now just hotbeds. Like
we're seeing a lot of gentrification right now. We're seeing people move into areas that, historically were a little rougher around the edges, and people are okay with that because they're getting value for their money where these other hot areas, it's almost you're priced out of the market. I think we're going to continue to see that, and we're going to see these outskirt areas really kind of come into their own. I think Oak Park's a good one. Just to
Oak Park, Hazel Park. There is 2 years ago people were like, oh, I don't want to live there, and now they're like, oh, there's 10 offers.
Yeah, I mean, look at Ferndale. Ferndale for a long time, people were like, oh no, not Ferndale. But now it's like, oh well, it's Ferndale.
Close to 8 Mile, and now there's like 30 offers on the property today.
Yeah.
But the areas that previously were like, go look at days on market for Royal Oak condos.
Yeah, they're just
what that looks like.
They're hanging out. No, No.
They're not moving off the shelves like
they're hanging out a lot. Those people don't want condos anymore, bro. I'm telling you, not like they used to. Okay, last question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
Superpower, be invisible.
I like that one.
I mean, you get to do whatever you want, right? Like you can actually create other things because you just can go do whatever you want. You don't want a bunch of money. You just go rob a bank. Nobody knows who you are.
What would you do? What would be the first thing you'd do if you could be invisible?
Probably something ridiculous, like
scare the shit out of your wife.
Nothing important whatsoever. It'd probably like messing with my wife or something. Like not something nostalgic where you'd be like, wow, you can go save the world. I'd probably be like hiding in closets, or I guess you don't have to hide in a closet though, right?
What do you mean? You're invisible.
Yeah, so I just like hide in the. Well, I don't know, man.
You just can't you can't have anybody touch you because that'd be weird if they just touched a human.
Yeah, are you physically there? I guess is the question.
Are you gonna wrap yourself?
Did you see that movie with the invisible guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that.
But no, it wasn't great. But he was invisible like all the time. Like you want to be able to go invisible.
Well, no, he had like a suit.
Oh, maybe we're talking about a different movie.
It's called like what was it called? It was something where like her boyfriend created this suit that had cameras all over it. And
Matt Burney, hold on. Matt Burney just said, what would you do if you're invisible? Golf, then no one would know your score.
No, you'd still see the ball. Is the ball invisible?
Oh, Summer, your wife said, yep, the wife, we didn't know she was listening. Be careful, bro.
She's always listening, even when she's sleeping. I love you, baby.
That's awesome. Listen, man, tell the audience how they can find your group. Give us your info, bro.
Yeah. QuestSold.com if you want to look at houses. Quest Realty MI on Instagram. Quest Realty on Facebook. Just reach out to me. Google Ali. Did you see my name? You guys didn't even mention it.
What?
My name? See my name on the podcast here?
Show it, Natalie. Show his name.
It's Ali Baya.
Did she spell it wrong?
Bio, baby. Very is biased, man.
Yeah. All right. So, there you go. Ali Baya. Very nice.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
That's it. So we are at the end of the show. Ali, thank you, man, for being so gracious with your time. You're always fun to have on the show, dude. And we'll have you back on soon.
All right. Love you guys.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.
See ya.
Yep. Man, I like.
Whoa.
Yeah, there we go. I really like Ali, dude. He's running a good shop. Their shop is very similar to ours. They're more mature. Obviously, we've been around 3 years. They've been around for 10, but he's got a really good team. I like their team a lot. I wish we worked with them more, but they're doing a good job.
No, it is always good to see, someone who has processes.
Yeah,
I think that's sometimes what happens to me a lot, or at least what I encounter is sometimes like when you're dealing with someone who's just all on their own, they're a great agent, right? But to Ali's point earlier, like they can only do so much. So sometimes things fall through the cracks. They don't have like an admin to email you something, right? And it's like, little things make a big difference in the end, and sometimes things slip through the cracks.
It's people and process, man. If you want to have a really successful business, you do have to have a process by which you deal with things. So yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Or
all right,
you have to admit, I can't do it all. Go call someone else.
Oh yeah, and sometimes
don't try to do too much.
Control of the whole process. Some people want the control, but they hinder themselves long term for sure. So. What happened? There we go. So, all right. So that is the end of our show. Everyone, thank you for listening. For those of you that made it all the way to now, thank you for listening. For those of you that listened, please like, subscribe, share our show. We're just a small show out of Metro Detroit, but we try to do a good job. Next week, Sal, is 150 episodes, my dude.
Wow.
Yeah. 150 episodes over 40,000 downloads. I mean, it's been very good. So if you like our show, awesome. Please like, subscribe, share. If you don't, go fuck yourself.
3 years.
Yeah, no shit, right? So, all right, everyone. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week for our 150 show. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate, the nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.